Okay, well, welcome back to our slightly off brand podcast. So, before we get to our topic, we want to open it up with a little bit of an announcement. So, Callie, tell us what's going on.
Well, this will be my last podcast recording because I'm going to be leaving the team, which yes, I see a lot of like sad faces
I
for those
know.
seeing the videos. I know. And it was definitely a hard decision, but it's all good things. Gonna stay home with the kiddos. But the last couple of years here, it's been an amazing experience. I feel really lucky to have been able to be part of this team, and I've learned so much. I mean, just the ladies on this podcast, oh my gosh, so talented, so knowledgeable. So it's just been a dream to be part of it for a little bit.
We are so going to miss you.
You can be sad all over again.
Coffee. We're not doing this now. Okay. So, yes, mark this one, guys. You definitely have to listen to Callie's last podcast. So, Aaron, what are we talking about today?
Ooh, so this is a good one today. We're going to be talking about humanizing brands. When I first was listening to the audiobook of Sapiens, this came back around in my mind because as we work in brands, we know that humanizing brands is something that you want to do. But the book Sapiens mentioned the very beginning of brands, and I thought it tied into this conversation really well. So when we first had brands, people ran companies. So we always thought of people and companies as being intertwined. Actually, if you sued a company back in ye olden days, you would actually sue the person. The person took on all the liability for the company. So not only did they take on that liability, but that was where your trust was. So you placed your trust in a human being to make sure they would do the right thing for you. And now we have LLCs, which move the liability. So we don't have to worry about that anymore. But people still want that trust and humanization in brands. It's really hard for somebody to trust a corporation, but if they feel like it's human, that's where they can place their trust and their money. So I just thought that was a really interesting dive into today with a little bit of the history of humanizing brands. And I thought as a team who works with brands every day, we could go over the do's and don'ts, tips and tricks of humanizing your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think too, like it's such a timely topic because I feel I both think we've seen AI and the incredible tools that are being used right now. I mean, I can't even keep up with the amount of AI tools that are out there, right? What I have noticed though, and I think why this is so timely is with AI, I feel like everyone's allowed now to come to the table. Everyone's showing up. Everyone has a voice, but I feel like with that, how do we stand out? We have this humanizing brands concept. And I would love to hear just from the team because we talk about it a lot, but what does it mean to humanize a brand?
Well, I think that it comes back to some of the same things we said in the social media episode, where it's about trust, it's about person to person, it's about relationship building.
Agreed. Yeah. I feel like humanizing brands, it's trying to be more personable. I don't know how to say it without saying humanizing brands because that's what it is, right? Like you're visualizing what this brand would look like. Who is your target audience? And would your target audience hang out with this brand if it was a person?
Absolutely. And you're speaking person to person versus person to brand. Brands that aren't humanized usually try to speak and say, you should buy my product. But humanized brands actually connect with their audiences and give them the reasons why.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me too, we talk about brands, having those human traits. I think a lot of it is about, showing empathy and emotion and imperfection, even though that's like really scary to, I think, show. It's the most human thing that our brand can do because no one is perfect. And I think it's about behavior and how like the behaviors like that your brand takes, not just being present, right? And I think it's about speaking like with people. And this I think goes back to the social media thing, Callie. A humanized brand speaks with people, but not at them. And
Right.
I think that's really important, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. We talk a lot about like that connection and that audience. And brands that speak at people aren't really forming those connections. So that's a lovely distinction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when anybody is going through the purchase cycle, whether it's a service or it's an item, whatever that thing is, it's an emotional journey. And humanized brands can see that and they can meet people at each of those different steps with empathy, with knowledge, with real emotion.
I'd add on to that too is, we live in a time where people love getting information. They love hearing your story, how you came up with this company, and documenting everything from like start to finish. That really humanizes your brand. You're not just buying a product, you're buying this person's story and what they stand for and all the troubles they had to go through to be able to produce the service or product.
Yeah. Hey, I also want to ask too, because we talked about, just or at least I mentioned like how AI is really changing the way that brands communicate. How like in your roles, like how do you see AI changing the ways that, brands are communicating? Are there any risks there, for authenticity?
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As like the answer we're all nodding to. Absolutely, yes. I think it's really easy to use AI in a way that may not be as thoughtful and as intentional as some people want it to be. It's really easy to produce information quickly. And so when you don't have that clear map of who you're talking to, what you're saying, how you want it to land, that inauthenticity can really hurt your audience perception. And people have become trained to AI now. I almost call it like AI eyes. Like you can see the patterns and begin to recognize that super generic use of AI. So that's why humanizing your brand is even more important because you want to stand out apart from this crowd that is generating content. You want to be authentic and speak to the audiences you want to.
Have you guys seen those videos on YouTube of like, here's clip one and then here's clip two, figure out which one is AI?
Yeah.
And, every day it's getting harder and harder to recognize which is real and which isn't. And we've seen
Hmm.
in advertisements AI being used. For example, bonobos and the spider.
Right.
Yes,
Yes.
that was
Did you get to the
crazy.
bottom of that mystery?
No, I need to put that on LinkedIn and I am going to tag Bonobo. So, for reference, for those listening, I went shopping at Keystone at the Crossing Mall and I was looking at those big advertising posters and it was for Bonobos, which do custom tailored clothing for men. And so the ad shows this beautiful interior of what I'm going to say is like a hotel bedroom. And this man is on this bed and he has got this tray table of ice cream. And he is super cozy and comfy. He is like eating a cherry, which I thought was like, I don't know, was a little weird, but that was not what caught my attention. What caught my attention was on the ice cream cart was a gigantic tarantula spider, like, just hanging out there, like, seriously, I have thought about it all weekend to the point where, I had to share it with you guys because what on earth? Where did the spider come from? What was the point of the spider? I researched it all weekend, like, is there a connection between the business or the way that clothing is made with the spider? What is the spider? And absolutely nothing came up, and the only thing that makes logical sense to me is that it was created potentially by AI, making an assumption here, because why else would you have a spider in a hotel room? I'd be like, pest control. But it was so random. I don't know, you guys saw
Yeah,
the
it was
picture.
so wild. Yeah.
I think it's AI. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's really odd that there would be no other connection to it in any other way because when you do those photo shoots, you're so intentional about how the spoons are placed and what the color of the ice cream is. To leave a spider in there and not realize it, it was either intentional or very not intentional.
Chat GPT, create me an ad that is warm and fuzzy and cozy and make it ice cream. I don't know. And then like the warm and like the fuzzy is like the spider in the corner. It was so odd to me. So yes, that Francis, I will link the picture because I would love to hear opinions on that.
Yes.
Aaron, you talked about, I think it was you, gosh, it was a while ago. Was it Coca-Cola that got a
Yes.
lot of heat for using AI? Like, what do you remember, like,
Mhm.
what it's about?
feel like this was really at like the beginning of the AI video craze. So Coca-Cola released actually a Christmas time ad, so this is very timely. And it was a lot of kind of Coca-Cola themed trains, people, polar bears, but it was very evident very quickly that it was AI. And they caught a lot of flack for it from not using people to produce the work and having artist credit, and we're still in this gray area with AI of where did that content come from that they pulled to make the video. So they were one of the first people to get a lot of backlash for using an AI video. So, but now it's kind of tough because you may make that same video today and AI has just gotten so much better that you may not know that it was AI to begin with. So that's kind of an interesting, I bet that was 2 years ago, maybe. And so it's really changed. The landscape of AI has changed so much in the last 2 years. But yeah, Coca Cola got a lot of online hate for that. So interesting brand
How
move.
how do you guys perceive brands that use AI so publicly, like Coca-Cola and Bonobos? How do you guys think that shifts the public image or just their reputation overall?
For Coca Cola specifically, I think they are a brand that is so humanized and very personal to their audience. I mean, we had campaigns like you have your name on Coke bottles. They're meant about the shared experiences that you get together. So using AI for them while they're trying to humanize their brand probably felt a little bit cold and distant from actual human interaction. So I think that was kind of an interesting choice for them. Maybe early on, where AI wasn't as familiar, people did not put their trust in that. But yeah, are there any other examples we can think of that were aligned or misaligned?
Oh yeah, I was gonna bring this up for like a different episode, but the Pacers used AI on one of their past players. I think he just got waived, but I forgot his first name, but it was McClung. And at this point, he just got signed on our team, but he hadn't played yet. So they did an AI video of him wearing the jersey, like walking, and a lot of people in the comments hated it.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think for me, like, I don't mind it sprinkled in when I feel like it can't be recreated easily. Coca-Cola has always been known for their winterized Christmas ads with the polar bears and the trains. Like, in a way, it is kind of similar to like the animation, side of things, right? So I feel like some of those things are okay. I could see the Pacers thing though. It's like, why couldn't, do something that was like a little more like human? I feel like if it's going to replace humans, I don't love it because then I feel like it loses that authenticity. That's just from my perspective because I just feel like with audiences, they really want like the real stories and the faces and they want to see real things. And I think another thing to note too with AI and social media, if you are doing as a business any sort of advertising, you have to check if your images or videos were created with AI now. If you do not, you can get your account shut down and suspended and banned because they are starting to advertise whether something is actually AI generated or not because it is becoming scary good. My mother-in-law yesterday sent our group chat something she found on Instagram and it was a man and he was sharing his wisdom and it was beautiful. And my nephew immediately came back and he's like, "Yeah, sorry to tell you it's AI," because she couldn't tell. And so, like, then, like, this argument, is ensuing between the group chat of like, "Well, does it matter if it's AI and it's not?" And she's like, "It doesn't matter. If AI says the sky is blue, it doesn't mean it's not true." Like, I think that was, like, her stance on it. But just really interesting to see how social media is changing their rules to make sure that consumers are seeing authentic content and making you flag it if it's not authentic.
Like, I've seen the ones like, "Hey, watch out, this is AI," and you can't even tell. It's like a newscaster in a storm, and it looks like there's a disaster, and you could be sending disaster relief, and there is no disaster, or an ad, kind of Sarah McLachlan style, raising funds for kids, and these are AI generated. So yeah, it can get a little tricky. I think that in the coming years, the ethical side of it is gonna um, be interesting to see it play out.
Mhm. I'd love to follow up with a question for you. So, we're talking a lot about AI. We're talking about some of the negative things, right, about it. But how do we use AI? Like, how do we recommend clients use AI if they're going to use it? And it's not going away. Like, I feel like you can't even get an email anymore without some sort of AI trying to autocorrect your dang email,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
The hard and fast rule right now as it is today is efficiency, but you can't use it to replace humanization, right? You can have it help you bring together some reports and find the right data out of them, or something along those lines, but having it create entire swaths of content, of videos, of this and that, it's gonna feel lacking, it's gonna feel hollow, and people are gonna be able to pick up on an overuse of it.
Agreed. And I feel like it just depends on how you use it because people don't like being fooled. So if you're acting like this is real and it's obviously not, people are gonna get mad. And I think that's what happened with the Pacers thing is, these audiences, the fans, like they have such an emotional attachment to the players. And the fact that that's the first impression you want people to have of your new player is not good.
Ooh, yeah, that perception is so important. And it's great for attacking like the blank page syndrome where you need somebody to brainstorm with. It's good for those like very initial drafts, but you still have to do the ethical, conscious part of making sure that it is saying what you want it to say, even if it's a lot of text that you're generating or something like that. And being cognizant that it is pulling from existing data too. Don't forget to cite your sources if you're going somewhere. If it's pulling stats, it's probably coming from somewhere. So just being aware that everything that you're doing is real. And there's also the danger that you can fall into. It can generate stats that maybe aren't true. So just double checking your work is really good because it's a great tool for brainstorming, like your extra right hand man that helps you go through the things that might be tough to tackle by yourself. But then doing the due diligence of making sure that everything is factual is huge.
Mhm. Yeah, AI does hallucinate. So that's always like our thing, I think, at our agency is like if you're going to use it as your first drafts or, your initial research, you have to tell it not to hallucinate. I will literally put that in the chat thread or the project that I'm setting up is do not hallucinate. Do not take anything outside of what I am giving you to come up with like your response. I love it for data. I have to say that is the one thing that I probably use it for the most is, when we're doing our brand strategy and we're doing quantitative and qualitative research and we have tons of surveys and responses to go through, I absolutely love having it find the themes and the patterns and the trends. Like what used to take us 2 to 3 weeks to comb through can now be done in like 2 or 3 hours. Once you get through it and you're looking through the responses and you're cleaning things up. I think absolutely love it for that. I love it for brainstorming. But the thing is, though, when you use certain ones, like whether it's Claude or whether it's Chat GPT, it does still feel sterile. And I feel like that's where you really have to come in and take the base and take it for what it is and integrate your own voice and your own tone and try to change it up. Because I think that's the cautionary tale that we're trying to get at is out of the box. AI written content is generic and sterile, but it's great to help with overcoming some of that writer's block.
I'm going to add a hot take to that also. I have had a few clients come to me with beginning projects and they sheepishly say, "Here's my logo that I made on AI." And I never want people to feel bad about that because it really does help us both attack that blank page syndrome. We can go straight into critiquing and say, "Okay, what is working here? What isn't? How do you feel about what you're looking at?" And then we get to build a brand that feels good from there, but we had a little bit of a jump start. So shout out to all the people that have done that. You're okay. I'm not judging you. It is really a helpful way to just jumpstart a project. So don't feel bad about it. Use your tools if you want to. I totally understand.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm adding on to that too, because absolutely there is nothing harder about our job sometimes than trying to extract someone's vision out from their mind onto paper. We have a lot of questions we know we have to ask. We have to dive deeper and deeper and deeper. And so, absolutely, when someone comes and says, here's my thoughts on paper, And they are a little bashful about it. I'm like, "No, thank you. Get come on, let's go. We can do this."
Absolutely. No, that's so true. So, yeah, don't feel sheepish about it. Use your tools. It's all good.
Any way that you can put your idea down on paper and just start it, that's always a step towards, progress. So, you gotta use the tools and what you have instead of just keeping everything up in your brain and it doesn't ever get done.
I always say critiquing is easier than creating. So if you have something there, we can then dive into it and figure out what's working and what isn't.
So when we think about humanizing brands, right? So we're taking it to like, what does the humanized brand mean and how is AI shaping it? So, what does a humanized brand look and sound like across like all the different channels and communication channels that we have that's out there?
Really good question.
I think, like, it depends on, the company. Some companies, they rely on, like, their employees as, the humanized version of their brand, so they'll have their employees make content of, like, them talking to the audience, but then there's also some companies like Duolingo, like, where they have a mascot, and they have this whole persona of the owl being super mean and will get you if you don't do your daily streak. So yeah, I think those are 2 different ways. So, 1 where you have the people in your company, and 2, like, you have something else kinda representing your brand.
So to build on that, Francis, so you're talking about like the visuals, right? So you're talking about use real people, natural photography, those authentic stories. Like when we think about like the visuals and how that could be used across channels.
Yes.
So, aligning your voice when you use consistent language and even consistent tone across channels, whether that is, do you use exclamation points or are you speaking in a way that is clear? Do you use a little bit more jargon heavy language? Making sure that tone relates across all of the pieces of your brand is really huge. When somebody reads a tone in one place for the same brand that's different in another, that starts to create distrust because it doesn't feel like the same brand. So, voice is huge, and that even connects to your visuals. If you looked at our Mom Donnie podcast, connecting that to your visuals is also a big thing.
I love that you said it, jargon. Avoiding jargon, I think, is huge because I feel like when we're naturally having those conversations, we don't use like those big words and jargon. Like, if you can't naturally say what you have written down to put out on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, you need to change it up. I struggle with that. To be quite honest, I have been struggling with one of our social media clients and not to be named. And I think it's because, the way that I write is different than the way that I speak. So when we have to write out what we want to put on social media, I feel like mine come out probably a little bit more technical than they should. But then I have to go back and I have to read it out loud. And I'm like, this sounds terrible. Like, I would never say something like this. And it's actually really hard.
When you're in the space and it's sometimes hard to relate, like, what do I need this word to say? Because jargon can be so specific sometimes. But yeah, paying attention to what you're saying and who you're trying to say it to. You always want to be able to explain it to like a 5-year old, right? Always want to be able to bring it down to any level that you need to.
So looking ahead, and I would love to hear from like everyone, but like, what will it take for brands to stay human in this AI driven world now as everything keeps evolving?
Yeah, it's probably not going to be easy, but you just have to, I think, always circle back to keeping it relationship first, and building trust. That is going to give you a loyal client base. If they feel like it's real people behind this brand, they feel like they can trust you. So I feel like that relationship aspect always has to come first.
Gonna add on to that, I feel like moving forward, not to toot our own horn, but, like, content like this, like podcasts where you're sharing things that are valuable is really what's gonna stand out because there's so much, I guess, like, white noise on social media, and then you're just scrolling, and it's really hard to stand out and, like, find something that you will pay attention to. So I think content like this is something good because you have people talking to you and, we're not AI.
Yeah. I would say like creating more shared experiences and real life things are going to be huge. For the wave of AI that's coming, we're going to have people that crave something that is human and real, much to your point, Francis. So, creating those campaigns and things that people get to interact with people, but then also get to see your brand in the scheme of things is huge.
Yeah, I think to add on to some of those conversations, investing in that genuine like storytelling because you can't replicate like what people will say about you and how you interact with those people. So like testimonials, like I think in your communications is really important. I think case studies to build out that credibility that actually shows you did the work. You're just not saying you can do the work because ChatGPT said you can do the work and is, writing out what you should be doing. So having those case studies, I think is going to be really important. Callie, I think just building on what you said too, that community, I think is going to be really important too. And I think lastly, just really thinking about the brand experience, like around your culture and around that human emotion. How can you extract that, like what your office environment is or what your remote environment is? How do you share that on social media? You can't get more authentic than that. Like AI is here to stay. Everyone's going to use it. We use it. I think it's just really important to be intentional about the way that you're using it. Erin, you've already talked about that intentionality behind it. Like, just don't use it out of the box. Don't ask it to write a blog for you and you just take that and plop it on your website. Like, that is the wrong way to use it.
100 questions.
If I think right now, since there's a lot of information on social media, I think that's more reason for you to not be scared to post content out there. Say whatever you're doing, any business things that you're doing, say it out loud because there's so much out there. There's no reason for you to not say it with your own voice.
I'm going to do a shameless plug. So I feel like if you are a business or a company and you're struggling to figure out what your voice is online and you're struggling to understand like, okay, how do we talk to people? Definitely our team can help with that. We work with clients all the time on that. And I think one of the best things that we do that our clients love is brand archetypes that really helps take all the clutter and the fuzziness of who you are as a company and as a culture and here's what you should sound like and here's example frameworks that you could use to talk about yourself and it keeps it consistent across the board.
And I'm going to pull a Teresa quote because we always say it's really tough to read the label from the inside of the jar. So sometimes you need someone that can get outside of your company and read that label for you and help you figure out how you want to speak about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, so to wrap it up, so I think a lot about what we talked about today like really comes from one idea. And I feel like, based on what we were talking about, can help you scale. Like it could help you scale that communication, but it can't replace connection. We believe that the most valuable brands are the ones that act human, they listen, they respond, they empathize, and they show up with consistency. And so I really feel like it's fine to use AI. Don't be afraid of it. Definitely experiment. Just don't let it be the end all for your brand because it will stand out. It will be so obvious that you're using it. So if you need any help, give us a shout and let us know.